Hi everybody, and welcome to our screencast about British imperialism in Afghanistan. Recently we've been talking about the different reasons that the current situation is the way it is in Afghanistan, and today we're going to be rewinding and thinking about some of the historical causes for the current situation. So our big question for today is, what are the lessons from British imperialism regarding foreign involvement in Afghanistan? But before we get started, I want you guys to take out a piece of binder paper. I know the top is cut off a little bit on your screen. Take out a piece of binder paper and leave room to answer the following questions. Please write the questions down too. You guys might want to pause the screencast right now so that you can write the questions down. Okay, so let's get started.
So the first question you need to answer is make a prediction about why anyone would want to invade Afghanistan. So take a look at the map. Think about what it's near, what it's not near, what it has access to in terms of bodies of water, what it doesn't have access to, and write down your prediction. Why do you think anybody might want to invade Afghanistan? So go ahead and do that right now. You can pause if necessary. All right, so there's a lot of information we can get from this map by just looking at it, and you'll notice that Afghanistan is located in a pretty central position. So it's what we call the Middle East, and it's called Mid-East because it separates the Far East from the more western part of the world, and it's at what's basically understood as a crossroads. So this is important geographically because if you're traveling by land, you're going to go through Afghanistan to get from one side to the other. So Afghanistan is in a place that's known as part of the Silk Road, which meant it was very well traveled for trade, and that there were lots of people coming in and out of this area. Okay. So there were many world powers that have invaded Afghanistan. So we can look all the way back to Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, the British, the Soviets, and the Americans. That being said, very few have been successful in actually controlling Afghanistan. So the invasions were successful, but keeping ground, keeping territory there has usually been a pretty big disaster. So why? Why could this be?
So one of the things that we've been talking about in the last couple of days is why geography makes it so hard to control Afghanistan. So I want you guys to take this time as an opportunity to review documents 1 through 5 in your document packet and think about the different factors that go into the Afghan geography. You guys are going to write this down on your binder paper. You need at least 3 factors that contribute to Afghanistan's geography. It's not the end of the screencast. It's just the end of class. So take a minute to do that. Pause if you need to.
All right, so you have reviewed that Afghanistan's geography makes it very difficult, and its culture as well, to control, to gain control over. But why would somebody want to do that? So going back to that question from the beginning. So today we're focusing in way back to the British as to why they wanted to control Afghanistan. And I wanted to remind you guys about what we studied last year with imperialism, and we used a handy tool to help us remember what those motives could have been. Do you guys remember empire? Okay. So the motives for imperialism, and now you're taking notes for number 3 on your piece of binder paper, were economic, military, political, ideological, religious, and exploratory. So I want you to start thinking about which ones of these motives might have applied to Afghanistan. So let's take a look at the next slide. And here we have a map. And you see parts of 2 empires on this map. So in terms of India, you guys should be able to remember that that was the crown jewel of the British Empire, that it was very resource rich. They were getting a lot of money and trade out of that colony. But that colony is actually very close to another empire, which is the Russian Empire. So put 2 and 2 together and look what's in the middle. There's our little country of Afghanistan, and think about how Afghanistan might be a key piece in a bigger conflict between Britain and Russia.
So that and this following slide will help you to answer number 4 on your binder paper. If we think specifically about the British motive in Afghanistan, why they wanted to invade Afghanistan in the first place, most of it is political. Russia is getting really close to Afghanistan in terms of their expansion. So the British have 2 ideas. First, they want to protect India. Second, they want to make sure that there's a buffer between the Russians and India so that they can have plenty of territory and room to protect their own conquests. So this becomes known as the Great Game, and we're going to be talking about this in class on Friday. But in order to get an idea for what the Great Game involves, we need this context that we've just been talking about. And I want you guys to make a prediction. I want you guys to think about these couple of cartoons and explain maybe what they're showing. Think about this in your mind, because we'll be starting with this in class on Friday. So that's the end of the screencast. I hope you guys have gotten all the notes down that you need. Make sure you go back and take notes again if you need to, and we will return to this information on Friday.
And we'll be checking your notes in class as your homework. See you next time.